Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live session. Hi, everyone. Just waiting for a few more people to join before I start. Hi, thank you for joining today. My name is Harjit, and I'm located in WA, Perth office. Um, Before we begin, let me outline what we'll be discussing today. So, today we are diving into the world of social work. We will explore what it takes as a profession and its potential career pathways. Feel free to ask questions and participate throughout the session. I will try and answer to your questions at the end. All right. So I'll just wait for a few more seconds for a few more people to join, and then we'll begin. All right. So, as I said, today we will be talking about social work and its PR pathways. Now, as you know, certain jobs like teaching, healthcare, and social work are prioritized for migration to Australia. Now, because of this reason, courses related to these occupations are very popular. Now, social work is one of those occupations which is highly in demand and has a good PR pathway as well. And it is also a very highly, or you can say a very good paying occupation. The average annual salary for social workers in Australia ranges from 85 to $100,000, which is a pretty good wage rate. Social work, social workers, they work in different settings, such as aged care centers, schools, hospitals, community centers, etc. Now, it's also important not to confuse the roles of community workers and for the community workers and social workers. Now, they both serve distinct purpose. Now, while both professions involve helping others, their responsibilities and areas of expertise vary significantly. Like for example, community workers are primarily involved in direct community engagement and local support initiatives, such as organizing programs, assisting individuals within the specific community context. Whereas the social workers, they have a broader scope, operating across various settings like healthcare, education, and government agencies. All right. So first of all, we need to understand what do the social workers actually do. Now, who are social workers? Now, social workers evaluate the needs of individuals, families, and groups. They help people develop skills, resources, to solve social problems, aiming to improve human well-being, uphold human rights, promote social justice, and social development, excuse me. Now, some of the tasks and responsibilities of a social worker, I want to just highlight a little bit on that as well, so that you understand what a social worker actually does. So the majority of the times, their tasks include facilitating connections between clients and community services. So they act as facilitators. They are the connecting or they are the bridge between the clients and the community services. So they act on your behalf. Now, assessing, they also their responsibility is to assess the resources in health, welfare, recreation, housing, employment, and other services. Now, they also do planning and executing the research projects, which, to address their clients' needs and organizational goals as such. They also do collaborate with community organizations and social agencies also to enhance and create those services. Now, when a client needs any help from the social worker, they conduct the case interviews and they assist the clients in problem resolution. Now, through information and mediation. So that is their role, to act as a mediator, as a facilitator, right? So analyzing and developing the social policies under practice is also one of those tasks. And the main role also is to monitor the client progress throughout the ongoing communication. Now, while the client is connected with the social worker, they also prepare reports, they compile the case records, and they monitor it throughout their communication. Now, as you know, social work is a very good occupation, and we've seen in the past that all the healthcare related occupations, such as nurses and social workers, they've been highly in demand. And we've seen the invitations coming in for, as low as 65 points to 70, 75 points. And this, being on a medium and long-term list, is eligible for all kinds of general skilled visa options, such as 189, 190, 491 subclass. And not only that, social workers are also eligible for employed sponsored visa options, such as 482, 186, and 494. Now, just to touch base a little bit on these visa types so that you understand what these numbers mean, is that I'll just go through the main three subclasses, which are point-based subclasses. The first one is 189 independent visa. Now, in 189 subclass, the points required is 65, and those 65 points are just independently your points, like the applicant's points. They do not get any points from the state. Now, whereas in 190 and 491, they do get points from the state. For 190, the state awards 5 points, whereas in 491, the state gives you 15 points. So basically, for 190 and 491, you may have less points of your own because you will get 5 or 15 points from the state, whereas in 189, you don't get any points from the state. So the 65 points are your own points. And now, for all these three visa types, you need full skill assessment. Now, that is the basic requirement. You must have the skill assessment from AASW. Now, the English requirement for all these three visa types to lodge your expression of interest is minimum 6 each, which means that you must have, in IELTS or PT equivalent, you must have 6 band in each of those 4 modules. Now, 186, which I talked about, is a permanent visa. 190 is also a permanent visa, whereas 491 is a regional state sponsorship visa, which leads to a PR pathway after 3 years. Now, it gives you the rights to live and work in Australia and also travel outside for 5 years. And you are eligible to apply for your 191 after 3 years of residency and work, after you've completed the 3 years of residency and work requirements. Now, when I talk about skill assessment, you may not be fully aware that for the skill assessment for social workers, if you have studied here in Australia, then your course must be from an accredited and recognized institution, because only then you'll be eligible to get a positive skill assessment. Now, there is a criteria that you have to meet for skill assessment. If you've studied here in Australia and you've completed your bachelor's or your master's in social work, then you will, if you've studied from an accredited and recognized institution, you will pretty much be able to meet all the eligibility criteria. But I will still go through them anyways. So besides being a specific qualification and from a specific, in social work, the qualification must be regarded as a professional social work qualification. in the country of training. Now, the learning outcomes of the professional social work qualification, they should be comparable to the learning outcomes that the graduates of AASW, accredited social work qualifications, must demonstrate. The other requirement or the criteria is that at least 1,000 hours of field education in at least 2 placements and 2 contrasting practice, okay, with a requirement that 1 placement must be in direct practice. Now, if you are an overseas qualified social worker, then to get a positive skill assessments, you either you should be able to meet these criteria plus the high level of English language skills. You could have a minimum of 3 years or more of post-qualifying social work employment overseas, or 1 year of post-qualification social work employment in Australia to meet the eligibility criteria. Now, there are certain exemptions available for English language skills. They are for the if you've they are for certain countries only. Now, if you have studied if you've completed all your secondary education that was taught in and assessed in English in Canada, New Zealand, Republic of Ireland, South Africa, United Kingdom, or United States, then you might get exemption for English. Otherwise, high level of English is required for the skill assessment, which is equivalent to 7 band in all the 4 modules of listening, reading, writing, and speaking. So once so the next thing that I want to talk about is what after the skill assessment, what should you do after you've got the positive skill assessment? Now, I talked about the criteria to meet the skill assessment. You meet the criteria, you go in, you apply for the skill assessment, and you get the positive skill assessment. Happy days. Now you are eligible to apply for an expression of interest for your PR pathway. Now, for the eligibility criteria, as I mentioned, you at least need 65 points, and then they could be your independent 65 points or including the state points. But mind that the higher the points, the more probability of getting invited. So because there is competition, and you don't want to stand at a place where you don't get invited. So it's always recommended that you improve on your points, whether you go for a higher English level score or experience, or so that you can you can get your partner's points. So that way there is more possibility of you getting an invitation. All right. So as soon as you get your skill assessment done, lodge your expression of interest, check that you meet the eligibility criteria, not only of the Department of Home Affairs, which is your age should be less than 65, have minimum 65 points, and all of that. And also, you should meet the eligibility criteria of that specific state. Now, for example, if you're living in WA, then because I'm in WA, so I'm just taking the example of WA. Now, if you are living in WA, social work occupation lies on all the, it's on the general stream as well as on the graduate level stream. So if you are a WA graduate, then you don't need 1 year experience or 6 months contract. This was, by the way, this was for 2023 last financial year. We are still waiting for this financial year's requirements to come up, but I'm just talking from that behalf that if you were an WA graduate, you could apply for the expression of interest as long as you had a positive skill assessment and you had 65 points. Now, when you do get invited, at that point, you can apply for the visa subclass that you were invited for. So if you were invited for 189 or 190 or 491, whichever visa it was, you could go in and apply for that visa. Now, in the last financial year, we've seen that social work was quite, in demand. So it was uh, people were. We've seen invitations coming in for as low as 65 points, but this year we will see how the invitation rounds go. But from my end, what I try to emphasize to my clients is that try and work on your points, try and achieve as much high points as you can, because then you know that you will stand out and there is more possibility of you getting invited. um, so that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about today for the social work occupation. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask and I'll try to answer those questions. I can see that there's quite a few people who've joined here. um, but if you have any questions, please. So there is a question by Janie. Says, good afternoon, ma'am. What are the chances for 491 and 190 invitations on 65 points for my EY already lodged? Jen, 65 is the bare minimum that is required. I would recommend go in and try your PTE or else exam again and try to crack, the points there so that you can, even if you do, seven, if you've not achieved seven each, I'm not sure what points you are on. Try and get the points in English so that you can bump it up by 10 points at least. So then there is a good chance of invitation. The next question is, hi, when you reckon skill in demand visa will be implemented? Um, we don't know as yet, honestly speaking, so we are still waiting. But from my understanding, it will be sometime um, end of this year, close to that, in October, November, sometime. But we don't know for sure. Um, Now, there's a question from can a law student pursue Master of Social Work? Um, by Dilesh Silva. Dilesh, I would recommend you contact our education team. They will be able to help you with your query regarding the social work course. Tala says, I applied 190 before 5 months as an electrical engineer with 80 points. How much time it will take for the invitation? Um, Tala, we don't know when the next invitation round is going to happen. We are expecting something next month, sorry, in August or September. So hopefully we will see some invitations coming through then. Um, but as of now, we don't know when it's going to happen. Um, so let me see if there's any more questions there. All right, now there's a question from Sandy. She says, ma'am, I think she says, I'm looking for a job as a registered nurse, or I'm not sure what she's written here. She says, I have experience working as a healthcare assistant in Singapore. I want to come to Australia now. Can anyone sponsor me on 482? Sandy, you will have to, for 482, if you can find, you'll have to find this employer. If you can find an employer who's happy to sponsor you, yes, you can. Get here on a 482 sponsored visa. You may have to meet some eligibility criteria. So you can just contact our office. I can walk you through the whole process in detail. There any more questions here? I can't really see. Okay, so there's a question by Joanna. She says, any chances for community workers? Yes, Joanna, when community workers are also in demand. So, but then again, you must have high points to get invited. Um, so try work out on your points, let's say. Uh, Shrikant says, "Hi, I am a community worker. We heard that a community worker is not going to be in the skill list. I have skill assessment as community worker." Now, Shrikant, don't just assume that they will not be on the list, because we are still waiting for the finals to final requirements and final list to come through. But so far, community workers are still on the list. So, uh, all right, then if there are no more questions, I will wrap it up. If you do need some advice, or you've forgotten to ask something and you suddenly remember that you were supposed to ask, then don't be hesitant to call us. You can contact us, and we are happy to assist you. Um, and thank you for attending the live session today. Thank you so much.